Our world continues to change and push us in ways we have not been challenged before. On this show, we talk about these challenges, how to be aware of them, face them, and overcome them in your life. This is David Waldas, creator of the Aligned Living System.
And I'm Nick Musica, Aligned Living Coach. Welcome to the Aligned Living System podcast.
Welcome to the Aligned Living System podcast. This is David Waldas here with Nick Musica. Today, we're going to talk about why we create so much struggle in our lives. And, it's interesting. We do so much to create so much challenge. And usually when we're doing it, our intention is to create less challenge, to make life more fun, to make it more enjoyable. And inside of that attempt at making life more fun, more enjoyable, there's an avoidance. And so when we look at why do we make life so hard, it's because we're avoiding the parts of us that are ready to heal. We're avoiding the parts of us that want to unfold into something new and really a deeper level of us. And it's so easy for us to get distracted in these outer layers and these other parts of us that aren't really us, and our coping mechanisms and the things people have done to us or the things that we've done to other people or the drama that's everywhere. And when we're playing in that level of self, it's very juicy. It's very interesting. It captures all of our attention. There's a lot of emotion involved in it, and there's a massive amount of distraction from who we truly are. And so, I think it's gonna be interesting to talk about. I'll give a quick disclaimer too. I'm going on about 4.5 hours of sleep. I was up last night. Var and I do cacao ceremonies fairly regular, and it's part of our personal growth. If you're not familiar with cacao, it's basically raw chocolate that you get ceremonial grade. When you do it in a rather kind of heavy dose of it, it puts you in a very open state, and it's beautiful. And so we do ceremonies with it quite a bit to kind of get in touch with ourselves at deeper levels and in touch with each other at deeper levels. And so it was funny, last night had some huge openings happening, and I'm like, it's probably almost 11. I should get to bed. And I looked and it was 2 a.m. So sometimes there's a little temporal distortion, a little time distortion with cacao as well. But again, massive breakthroughs. And it was happening way below, the normal radar. It was about going much deeper inside myself than's even comfortable, even though I've been doing this work for a very long time. And so, Nick, what shows up for you when we talk about the idea of, why we create so much struggle in our life versus the idea of going deeper inside of ourselves and looking at these things, uncovering them, being more our truest self, as opposed to, the part of us that's stuck in the loop, in the bullshit,
In the Matrix.
Yeah. In the Matrix. Yeah.
I'm still stuck on Hershey bars and how enlightening they can be.
These are not Hershey bars, Nick. Hershey does not.
Maybe that's my sugar addiction talking. Maybe.
Yeah. I think that's cultural
appropriation. Yeah.
Yeah. Of the indigenous people who've used.
Have you ever done a cacao ceremony? Had a Hershey bar earlier.
Yeah, I eat a chocolate bar on my way to work every day, and I don't feel emotional. I don't feel like I'm that much deeper in touch with myself, but it does make me happy on the surface until I crash, and then I have my sugar crash,
and then you just have another one.
And here's the drama we're talking about, right? Like
that's it.
It felt great on the way in. I got to work, but then I had some coffee, and I started to feel better again, and then that crashed, and so then it is
a bit like that, isn't it?
And I was just sad all afternoon.
Yeah, it's Jesus, but it is that. It's a I don't know if dopamine kick is the idea, but like the next thing that is interesting, and it could be, which is a distraction from our own thing, right? Because that's typically an external thing. The next distracting, interesting drama thing out there that you click on, and the world has gotten so good at just feeding that to us. So when we're not personally distracted, we get to look at those things and be distracted by someone else's garbage. So that feels like a whole nother thing over there.
I mean, to me, one of the new Aligned Living tools is about our fence line, about staying, keeping our awareness inside of this space around us and aligned with us, and shrinking our world. And when we shrink our world, we don't get distracted by all the things that are out there. It's amazing. I love it when I get these downloads, and this has been happening so much, where I'll get a download about something, a new tool come in, a new perspective, and then I'll hear from somebody else who's a channel, or I'll see somebody else talking about the concept in their own way about, like, and, I heard somebody talking about this other day, like when for kids, when things get a lot of anxiety and, they get sucked into all the stuff going on in the world, like our nervous system isn't meant for that. And so the idea is shrink their world. And so how do we shrink their worlds? Bring their awareness back inside here, and don't be out in the world tracking
Hmm.
all the horrors.
Hmm.
It doesn't make them better, but when we're bringing all awareness in home,
Mm.
rather than in all this distraction, we have to deal with ourselves, absolutely, and then go deeper and deeper into that. But so much of what people put their energy into is just being diffused out into the world and all the horrors and all the upsetness.
Yeah.
And we don't realize how much of an impact we can actually have on that from this place of our core. But the moment we get diffused by it, we're just overwhelmed. We're just shut down, or we're in anger and we're just perpetuating the problem,
Yeah.
or we're in drama, or we're in distraction, or we're in whatever, anything except for going deeper inside of ourselves. And, one of the things that we talk a lot about is, being around so many spiritual communities, like we see the pseudo, that pretend self exploration. It says, we're like, okay, let's go talk about a bunch about past lives now. Like, well,
Mm.
that's great. It has some value, but it's not more important than this life. And, if we, how have you been doing? All the last 3 months, I've been exploring these past lives, and I realized this is why I'm like this, and this is why I'm like this, and this is what was coming in, and it was before I was even born. Like, well, yeah. So what about now? That in that whole piece of, oh, and then I explored this part of me, and the difference between being an exploration versus going, yeah, these are all our coping mechanisms. These are all the things we've had to deal with. What's underneath all that? How do we
Yeah.
get a hold of that and bring that out and operate
Yeah.
from that place? Which is, that's the work we do, and it's kind of the opposite of distraction. It's distilling down, it's quieting everything so that other stuff just, yeah, like I have had to carry all those burdens, and
Yeah.
underneath all that is a part of me that's been able to do it, and I can bring it out now and let it emerge beyond those burdens.
Yeah. 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 I picked up Gap and the Gain, or I was listening to Gap and the Gain again last night. I take a couple weeks off maybe at this point from listening to it. I should get back into it and finish it. But then I was looking at like, what are all the other books Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan have put together, and then and Ben Hardy. And one book came up about personality, and it was about you can choose your personality. Like it's this whole notion that it is what it is
Yeah, that was given to you, that is based on your childhood and based on your,
not
yeah.
true. Just and they're just like not true. And I've heard that before. I've heard
Mhm.
that before. Like it's baked in
Without intervention, it's true. Without
without
you take
awareness.
Yeah, without
Yeah.
you going, I'm not okay with being this way. I'm not
Right.
okay with reliving my childhood trauma. I'm not okay with
Right.
reliving these wounds
Right.
every day,
Right. Right. Right.
or
Right.
being the opposite of these wounds. I'm not okay with that
Yeah.
either.
Yeah. And I don't know how they define personality, but maybe the thoughts, the attitudes, and the actions that stem from them, I imagine is easily that. And when we're reactionary to the world, it seems like such an easy thing to just keep on feeding those, going back to the sugar addictions, just keep on feeding those addictions, right? Those behaviors,
Yeah.
instead of just being forward facing about things. I mean, we were watching, I think it's called The Resident. I think it's on Netflix. It's a very funny show about someone dying in the White House, which doesn't sound
That's
funny,
hilarious.
but it's very funny. It's a little like, Pink Panther, a little bit, like detective, super
Mhm.
funny. And the detective comes in, and she's also a bird watcher. And there's all these gentlemen who are just like not keeping their shit together, and there's talk they don't want to deal with the situation,
Mhm. Mhm.
and they're just talking a lot of nonsense. And she goes, here's the interesting thing about birds. They can focus. They can focus on getting their meal. And not only are they focusing on getting their meal, but when they focus on getting their meal, they're blinding everything else out.
Mhm.
Unlike you guys. The actress is the Crazy Eyes from Orange is the New Black. She's fantastic.
That's awesome.
And it seems as if we're talking that sort of was a funny version of it, but we're talking
Mhm.
about the same
Yeah.
thing. It's like,
Yeah.
what is the thing that we're focusing on? What is this thing that is actually important to us?
Yeah.
Is it the food, or is it all the other things around the food that distract us?
And so much of it is marketing, right? Like when I look at our
Yeah.
podcast and how it performs, any title that we have around trauma, around drama, around navigating crisis, like it gets about twice as many views as ones that don't, that are about just straight going for personal development.
Yeah.
And I think that when people are selling a product, they go, well, what do people want from me? And well, they want drama, they want distraction, they want to explore past lives, they want to explore their coping mechanisms. It's not, and then we get to feel good because we're going, oh, I'm in this personal development. And to me, like the work that we do is most people we work with are people that are high performers that have just never been interested in that, or people that have been on that circuit for a very long time and they go, fuck, nothing's really changed. Like I've been doing all this exploration, like great. I know my coping mechanisms really well. I know how I'm going to handle these situations. Maybe my nervous system regulates a little bit better, but I'm still getting the same shit. I'm still doing the same shit. I'm still having the same recurring patterns in my life that suck.
Yeah.
And underneath all of that, this is a part where it reminds me of what Bo Eason talks about. Like, Nick and I both worked with Bo a bunch, and where it was just like, here he is, one of the best speakers in the world, talking to these small rooms of like 34, 40 people because other people don't want to sign up for that journey because it's all about, clearing away the stuff that doesn't matter. It's all about letting go of the drama. And I feel that's absolutely true with our work. Like and underneath all that is the greatest joy, the most fulfillment, the most fun, really, and the most really in touch with ourselves and in our true selves. When we're living from that place, there's a vibrancy, there's an aliveness, but people don't know that because they're stuck in the layers of exploration.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all the spiritual tools that we have, if they're used at that level, even things like journaling and self-reflection, like we're just regurgitating, spinning in it. And it feels like I've been just exploring myself and exploring myself. Right. But what's underneath that? And that to me is what's fascinating. And I also get why to people that are in that journey, it's so scary because, we want to be on personal development. We want to be on this growth journey. And if we stay in that layer of drama and exploration, we can spend our whole life doing that. Like I know it's funny. I was just at this is hilarious. Like I was at this event where we're waiting in line to be next um, on the table. It was actually at a Donnie Epstein event for Network Spinal. And there was a woman there who's, kind of the veterans there. That's like this older woman who was like, kind of everybody knows her because she's at every event. And, I've been waiting and she comes and sits down next to me and she goes, oh, do you mind if I go next? And I've been waiting for the table for quite a while. And there was other people waiting behind me. I go, well, actually, I've been waiting for quite a while. And she was like, oh, I go, do you have like something you need to be doing? Or is there, like a reason you need to go next? She's like, oh, yes, I have something I need to be doing. I'm like, she's lying to me. So I go, there's something you need to do? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, well, if there's something you need to do, yeah, go ahead and go in front of me then. And so I let her. And then, I see her up and she's just wandering around afterwards, like not like, she didn't have something she needed to do, but I'm like, you've been here for years just doing this, right? Like just playing the same game, playing at the same level, not changing, not growing. And it was such a funny piece of like, wow, you just have your shtick that you do. And then you repeat it. And it's not you, there's layers underneath you. And it's fun, it's beautiful, people love you, but who are you underneath that? And it was just such a clear moment for me of like, wow, she's been doing this for 30 something years, just same bullshit,
And now people are doing that, not under, I don't think, not under the supervision of a therapist with psychedelics, but self-administered or
Yeah,
ceremonies or whatever.
yeah,
I mean, there's a whole lot of diving in and out of the pool, jumping in and out of the pool, and
yeah,
not a whole lot of learning how to swim.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Or learning what's at the bottom. It's like we're just swimming around the pool, and like actually, there's another pool underneath this pool,
Yeah,
like this
yeah,
right
yeah.
here. And I didn't get that for a long time. Like I was in this exploration. Like it was so crazy to have these non-ordinary experiences and have these beings showing up and having UFOs and having like all this. Like this is incredible. And then at a certain point, that started to die down because it started to just become just exploration of the non-ordinary
That's
as opposed to like, who am I underneath all this? And I don't have a lot of those experiences anymore. But what I do have is these deeper dives into myself. And I don't need the non-ordinary to know that everything is non-ordinary for me anymore. But for years I did. And now it's like those are fun. And I love it when, you shows up or whatever, I have a being that shows up in the room, but it's not something I'm seeking anymore. It just becomes a byproduct of these deeper
yeah,
dives.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
I think there's great value in that. But if you've been doing that and you're looking at your life going, shit, same shit, basically, it just has more magic to it. and like, what good is a magical shit? It's pretty exciting at first, but at what point do we go, all right, like I'm ready for more? In this time in history right now, this period that we're in, like we're all being called for more. We're all being called to dive into a deeper level and stop the exploration of this level. Like it's clear, it's done. Like let's go deeper. And I hope this sounds interesting to you. And so the handful of you that are still listening, if you're still listening, this is what this time's about.
I am still listening.
You said this was going to be about drama. You said this was going to be what's this bullshit you're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. So for the folks, I interrupted. I'm sorry. So for the handful of folks who are still listening.
I see all three of you.
Yeah.
But it's exciting, right? I mean, it's a short line because most people would rather just distract themselves. And it's short-sighted because they don't realize the amazing beauty and aliveness and vitality that is in that next pool about going deeper. And it's beautiful, but we have to be willing to do it. Having the tools, it's so crazy to me, these tools that have come through the last 6 to 8 months for living, they're all about that. They're all about stabilizing inside ourselves at a deeper level and the safety that comes with that, and the vibrancy that comes with that. And the tools used to be at the point where these new tools come in. It was a redirecting, because it used to be at that point like, let's go into these higher dimensions, let's have these non-ordinary experiences, and we still do to a certain degree. But all the new tools are about bringing it into our bodies, grounding it in, being more and more ourselves, being more and more expressed, being more and more whole, bring back ourselves into fullness. And it's what's required. And there's nothing more satisfying. And it's what now is about.
So that's a good starting point thank you, David. So a good starting point for folks. Let's give them a good starting point.
Yeah, go ahead.
Free tools on the site, right? I mean, it's a good place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, I think for a long time I was much more shy about this, of like, oh, I can help you and it'll look like this, versus like, are you tired of swimming in this pool? Like, come see us. These programs that we have will take you into a deeper part of yourself, which is what this time in history is about now. And if you're tired with it, like, come do it. There will be massive change for you in the most beautiful way. And the depth and the exploration of self that you've been doing will serve you. And it'll serve in contrast to the freedom that you'll find in that inner expansiveness. And so if you feel like, like, I don't know what else I can do at this level, like the non-ordinary isn't lighting me up anymore the way it used to, it's becoming less interesting. And as I look at my life, there's a lot of shit happening that I don't like the way it feels. It's because that phase is over for you and the next phase is available. And so come see us. And that, like, I couldn't be more direct about that, because I'm seeing it over and over again with clients and the timing, and it's super exciting. And it's why we're starting the coach training too, because we need more coaches to get this out there. And these tools they're so effective. We just finished another 10-week program, and it's just so cool hearing the people at the end of the 10 weeks and even throughout it going, I figured it out. It's like this. And then next week they come back and like, oh no, now I figured it out. It's like this. And then by the time that 10 weeks, they're like, whew, like there's just so much me here. And it's exciting.
Yeah. That transformation that you're talking about. So there'll be, now's a good time to start. So there'll be links in the description. Yeah.
Yeah. Just go to davidwaldas.com, and the programs are there.
Yeah. Just give it a start.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, interesting conversation, Nick. It's, it is like, I feel like it's just a time to be so much more direct and so much more just kind of blunt about it. Like,
time
are you
to
done
get
with
going.
that level? You all done with the drama? You all done with the exploration? And look around your life. Is it doing what you want it to be? Is it vibrant? Is it alive? Is it deeply inspired? And exploration is for a while. And then when we realize we've explored it and now we're just looking for something else at that same level, and it doesn't do the same thing for us, we know we're ready.
Yeah. You want a different output, you got to put it in different input.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, great conversation, Nick. All right. Well, thanks so much for listening, and we'll look forward to hearing from you. We hope you enjoyed listening to today's podcast. And if you did, please subscribe so you can catch the next episode. If you want to learn more about the Aligned Living System and how it could support you in your life, check out davidwaldas.com.